In this section, we are discussing a question that is, what is the difference between null and undefined? The category is the JavaScript language itself, and we will see three relative questions which we can relate to this topic. Alright, so in all programming languages, you see null values, but JavaScript is unique in this case. It has both undefined and null. And believe me, it's really confusing for even experienced developers. So let's begin with undefined. Most of the languages have data types for variables. JavaScript also has, but at the time of variable declaration, there is no type decided. Then after the value is assigned to a variable, it decides the data type. So before any value is assigned to a variable in JavaScript, the variable contains undefined. Let's run a sample code to understand it with more clarity. Let's say I declare a variable x and I will simply try to display the value. Not only that, I'm going to also display the type of x. Type of is a kind of operator which gives you the type of the variable, that is the data type of a variable. Let's run the code and see what happens. As you see that the value of x is undefined and the type of x is also undefined. So undefined is a data type as well in JavaScript because the x doesn't have any value at this moment. The value, of course, it will display is undefined, but the data type is also undefined. Let me just assign a value to x and I will rerun the code. Now you see that in the first case it displays the value and in second case it says it's a number now. So when you do not have any value assigned to a JavaScript variable, then it is going to be undefined. Now let's talk about null. Null is exactly the same as other programming languages. Null means nothing. When you have a variable or object which you want to make empty, then you assign null to a variable. Say for example, let x is equal to null. I will display the value of x here. So certainly it's going to display that the value of x is null. The most amazing thing here is if I have another variable which contains undefined just in case. And if you try to compare with equality operator, I'm not saying strict equality, right? 3 equal to is strict equality in JavaScript which checks both value and data type. But here we are using simply the comparison. Now if I run the code, it says true because both undefined and null represent nothingness, but they contain different data type because undefined and null are different in terms of data type. So if I use the strict equality operator, you will see that now it says that it is false. Let's discuss relative questions of this topic. The first question can be, what is undefined in JavaScript? So which you already know now that a variable which is not assigned a value is undefined. The second question can be, what will be the output of undefined double equal to null and undefined strict equality null? So we already know that when you compare undefined and null with two equal to signs, that is simple comparison, it's going to return true, and with 3 equal to sign, that is strict equality, it's going to say false because it also checks the data type. And as I mentioned, undefined itself is a data type. Null is a primitive data type. Null is not an object. Null is a primitive data type. In case if you are using type of operator with null, it displays object, but that is actually incorrect from the beginning in JavaScript. Null is treated as a primitive data type. Third question, can you explicitly assign undefined to a variable? Now here when I say explicitly, that means can I assign a value undefined to a variable? Yes, you can, because undefined itself is a kind of keyword which you can use. Let me show you by example. I can say let x is equal to undefined. So when you say undefined, remember I'm not using any single quotes or double quotes, right? Otherwise it will be a string. But Directly when you say undefined, that means X actually is undefined, though we don't need that. But in case when you want to compare a value, that the value is undefined or not, then this keyword is useful for you, right? So here I can say X just to show what is the value. So it will be undefined. So these are the few tricky topics, null and undefined, which commonly are asked when you go for interviews.